Hello everyone, it's Friday. Yes, it's Friday, Fridays with Father, and it's the 26th of March. Time is going by so fast, it'll be Christmas again soon. That's why we must make the most of this moment while we have it, because we're at the back end now of Lent, and we're almost at Easter. There we go. And before you know it, it'll be Easter egg time and Easter bunny time, and it'll be time for me to have chocolate for my breakfast on Easter Sunday. So I'm here with you. Jonah's on the floor. He's asleep. I think he got tired of waiting for me, so he's gone to sleep. Maybe he'll say hello before we finish today. I just basically wanted to stop by and finish, I suppose, what I was talking to you about these last couple of weeks, and that was like the third kind of day of what is called the Holy Triduum, or the Easter Triduum, or the Sacred Triduum, or even the Paschal Triduum. I spoke to you a bit about Holy Thursday and the Mass of the Lord's Supper, and then I spoke to you a bit about Good Friday and the Liturgy of the Passion, which is both very important days. But none of those days, those days on their own are very nice, but they only make any sense if you have the third installment, which is Holy Saturday, and ritually what we call the Easter Vigil. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you briefly about that today. So if you remember, that we finished kind of talking about the Good Friday kind of Liturgy of the Passion, with everything finishing like in silence, really, because we'd gathered to commemorate, Jesus' death, the anniversary of his death, and we do that solemnly, and so there is silence involved, and we venerate the cross. And as I said to you, that this year we won't be venerating it by touching or kissing, we'll just be bowing, as you will see, because of COVID. So after that, the Good Friday kind of celebration finishes right in silence, really. And that silence really is intended to lead us all into a personal silence, and to remain with that silence in a certain sense of meditation and quietness until the following day, until the Saturday evening celebration of what we call the Easter Vigil, when we celebrate, the first light, if you like, of the resurrection in the Easter Vigil. So whatever you do after, Good Friday and the Liturgy of the Passion, make it count, really make it count. As I was saying to somebody earlier, that it wouldn't be really appropriate to sort of like go to the Liturgy of the Passion on Good Friday, and then decide to go out, to a big restaurant and have a few drinks and to party, or to go to a nightclub or a dance. Or it's not party time, after the Good Friday celebration. It's probably best to go home and to spend the rest of the time really, pondering what it is that you just experienced and what that means to you. In other words, we actually go into the tomb with Jesus. That's how they describe it. And so from that time at the end of the Good Friday liturgy until the Holy Saturday Easter Vigil, in a sense that we are like in the tomb. And one of the readings of the following morning that comes up in what we call the Office of Readings is written by an unknown author. Talks about, that there's silence all over the world today. There's silence because of what we have witnessed with Jesus and his resurrection, with his death, sorry. There's a silence across the world. And in some ways that captures the tone of what Holy Saturday is. So it shouldn't really be a time when we're out doing lots of things, kind of a regular Saturday, make it special, make it count, be with your family, maybe eat something special but simple, and then be ready for the evening celebration, which is the most important really in the life of the church. It's that very first light of Easter. okay, which is celebrated in the Easter Vigil. Now, just to give you sort of set the scene, I suppose, really, the origins of all this was like in the early church, the very first days, I suppose, or the first years after Jesus had ascended to his Father, and Pentecost had come, and the church was in its infancy, if you like. On this night, of the Easter Vigil, once a year, on the anniversary of Jesus' resurrection, the church members would gather. And they would gather in a simple way, and they would gather in the dark, and they would spend all night in the dark sharing with each other memories of Jesus, what he was like, what he did, some of the memories which were written down, and how they kind of fitted together with Old Testament readings. And they spent that time in prayer, and they spent that time waiting for the sun to rise. And they used that, you see, to symbolize really the new light of Jesus' resurrection in their life. That's what they did. So they'd be just gathered in a simple way, singing, praying, and waiting. And when they saw the sun come up, that's when they celebrated in style. They celebrated in a ritual way the resurrection of Jesus. And that really is the origin, if you like, or the pattern of the celebration that we have here, the Church of the Holy Spirit, the Easter Vigil. And at that sort of special gathering of the night, the resurrection of Jesus, that community of the church, that's when they would baptize new members, adult members. That's when they would receive new people into their community, when people who have been learning about Jesus but and wanted to give themselves, their lives to Jesus, they did so through baptism, and it was a very special celebration. And so that's what we do here. So the Easter Vigil here and throughout the world, however it's celebrated, has those kind of flavors, those tones to what's going on. And that's what we will do here. Now, admittedly, the Easter Vigil, like everything else this year, has been affected by COVID. But we're just glad that we've got it, because this time last year there was nothing, all right? But so we're going to celebrate it liturgically as the church, but we can't have, as I said to you before, all the bells and whistles, just because of protocols and restrictions and limits and one thing and the other. So usually, the Easter Vigil will begin outside, and we will bless a fire. And from that will be the Easter fire, symbolizing, if you like, the rising sun, the rising Jesus, the new light of Easter, and we will bless the candle, and you would all carry lights in the dark, and you would follow the light back into the worship space of the church, and that will be an important part of the Easter Vigil kind of celebration. But this year, we can't have that because for obvious reasons. But what we will do is that we will all gather in the dark, and the space will be completely in darkness except for the candle, which I will carry in among you all. And that will be the new light. That will be the sun rising and the candle symbolizing Jesus, who is risen, who is our life, who is our everything and our salvation. And I will carry it in among you all. Okay, and then I will place the Easter candle, the Paschal candle, in a stand, and then I will proclaim through song something which is called the Exultet, which is rather a long kind of liturgical song, 9 minutes more or less, and which it basically praises God for the light which has come into our lives, praises the candle, and praises the Easter celebration for what it gives to each one of us. And so, this candle, which before I sing the Exultet, will be incensed. We venerate that as the principal symbol of Jesus in our midst at that time. Because if you remember, We will have emptied out the tabernacle, and there won't be any, prime symbol amongst us except the candle. So that will take the focus really as we begin the Easter Vigil. And so I will sing. I ask your forgiveness in advance for any mistakes that I will make. There will be mistakes because it's a really difficult song. But what we mustn't do is become too preoccupied by the musical notation or the musical performance, because that's not the point. Or even the understanding of the words, because that's not the point. What it is the proclamation that somebody is standing before all of you in your name and in the name of the church and proclaiming that Jesus is risen, and that's a big deal, and we're praising this light among us because we know what Jesus does for us, and and he's our life. That's the most important thing of all. So it's a moment of proclamation, done on behalf of all of you. And I invite you to join me really in that moment of great joy. Great joy. And there's a nice kind of word, or a nice line in the Exultet, which, if I can remember, is sort of, what gain would our birth have been, had we not been redeemed by Christ? In other words, what was the point? What would be the point in any of us being born, if we were not redeemed by Christ? In other words, if Jesus hadn't risen from the dead, what point would there be to our life? Basically none, because we don't believe. We believe that, Jesus and his resurrection means everything to us, and we put our faith in that again. So that'll be like the opener, really, that in the dark this proclamation will be given, and it'll be done in your name, okay? And it's not a performance, it's a proclamation. And from there then, once the proclamation is finished, then we'll have the liturgy of the Passion. The liturgy of the Word, sorry. The lights will go on. And then I'll invite you just to pay attention to the readings we're about to hear, which document in some ways the history of our salvation. Now, ordinarily, and if we're doing this fully, there would be a total of 7 readings. But we're not doing 7 readings for COVID, and also because I think people become impatient. But this year we're doing 4 readings, okay? And you'll be invited to listen and to join in prayerfully. But it documents basically the history of our salvation. It tells our story, and we put ourselves in those stories and in those messages, okay? And after those readings, we all stand up, and the Gloria is sung, like in any Sunday Mass. And that'll be sung. We unfortunately cannot sing along because of COVID, but, the cantor will be singing the Gloria for us and with us. And then after that, we have the opening prayer like a regular Mass. And then we have like a New Testament reading, again, talking about our salvation in Jesus. Then the Gospel reading, which proclaims the resurrection of Jesus. And after that, a brief homily by yours truly. It will be brief. It will be brief. All right. So we've had the two first parts of the vigil, which is the service of light, which is kind of limited, and then the liturgy of the Word. And then the next bit is what we call the liturgy of baptism, the liturgy of the waters, and the new waters of baptism, the new waters of the resurrection, the new waters through which we add new members to our community, and we welcome people to our community. And there will be, this coming year, I believe there are 3 people to be baptized. And I think maybe in total something like 10 or 12 people to be confirmed. And a few of them, and some will be making their first communion too. So it's a joyful moment. And ordinarily that would take place around the font of the church, but the fonts have been closed because of COVID. So we'll be doing it using water next to the Easter candle, and we will baptize there, and then I will confirm everybody, and then we'll all renew our baptismal promises, and then I'll sprinkle you all with water to sort of waken you up a bit, refresh you up a bit, and then sort of get ready for the rest of the Mass with the offertory and the consecration as usual. And that celebration will end, obviously, our Mass in the usual way. It's the first celebration of Easter, and it takes place on the evening of Holy Saturday, and it's called the Easter Vigil. Now, it's called a vigil for a purpose. It's supposed to, in some ways, last all night. All night, as though we were those people in the early church, waiting for the sun to rise. Well, things have changed a bit, really, and the world has changed, and we just don't have the same tolerance. So it is shorter, and this will probably take about an hour and a half, I think, this year, especially with the changes, the revisions. So I hope that you can join us for an hour and a half, whether it's in person, and if you are, please sign up, or online, streaming, to sit with us for an hour and a half, to sit with your family, your spiritual family. What do you think how we can spend an hour and a half doing nothing? Spend an hour and a half just looking at your phone. It's an hour and a half on the most important night of the year, It really is, for us who follow Jesus, the most important night of the year. To gather with your church family, to welcome the new light of Christ into your hearts again, experience that sense of renewal, and then to be responsible about welcoming new members into the community, because, it's part of our Easter hospitality, really, is to welcome new members into our family. So join us then. Jonah, I can see you want to come and say hello? Take a little break. He was fast asleep on the floor and starting to snore. So anyway, I picked him up now so he can say hello to you. I'm coming to the end anyway of what I was going to say, but I hope you can join us. This time next week is actually, in fact, Good Friday. So there will be no Fridays with Father because, we'll be, on Calvary with Jesus celebrating the anniversary of his death. And I look forward to seeing all of you at that time. So we'll be having Fridays with Father in 2 weeks' time when it'll be Easter. So in the meantime, just remember, in some ways, these are very special days. And, we've all been through a lot this last year. And sometimes it's hard to make sense of who we are in the pandemic, And the person who makes the most sense of us, for us, is Jesus himself. And there's no better thing to do than to be with him on those very holy days, as he experiences his passion, his death, and his resurrection. And we celebrate with joy our faith, which means so much to us. Would we have gotten through this pandemic without our faith? I think not. I think I might be certified mad and probably found in a mental institution, but but it's been a trial for us. But with Jesus, as you know, we can do so much, and God is good. So I will bid you farewell for now. I've got to go and hear confessions this evening. We're having 2 hours of confessions in Spanish. If you didn't get to confession the other week and you'd like to come tomorrow afternoon here in the worship space at 4 p.m., we'll be hearing confessions as well. All right. Don't forget, it's Palm Sunday this coming weekend. If you haven't signed up for Mass, please do so. If you can't get to Mass but you'd like a palm, stop by and pick some up because there'll be blessed palms distributed outside of our church building for all those who arrive but cannot attend Mass. All right. Be joyful. Keep the faith, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.